to this another session of Digital Vidya webinars. We've been conducting webinars through 19, for 5 or 6 years now, and we have been inviting various marketing leaders to give informative sessions on digital marketing and marketing as a whole. So today we have with us Vikas Chawla, and Vikas Chawla is the co-founder of a digital media marketing agency, Social Beat. Vikas is from amongst the top marketing guys in India and has been recognized as the top 100 marketers by Paul Writer's list. And he's an influential marketing professional who has special, expertise in the influencer marketing domain. So he'll be leading the session today, and the topic would be digital marketing beyond Facebook and Google. So without further ado, I invite Vikas to get started with the presentation and give and basically get started with the presentation. Welcome,
Perfect.
Vishal. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Means. I appreciate it and look forward to this session. I think there are about 77 of us at this moment. So hi, everyone. I'm glad to be part of this session. I hope all of you can hear me. If not, do always ping me and tell me if you want me to kind of increase my volume or if you can't hear what I'm saying. So great. So
just to just to understand from the audience, can the audience see the screen of Vikas?
I'm just sharing the screen now, so you should be able to see it now.
Yeah. All right, Vishal, you can continue.
Yeah. Great. Awesome. Thanks so much, Meet. So today we're going to be talking a bit about how do you move away from the focus that actually most marketers have on the top two platforms in the world and in India as well, which is Facebook and Google. And we're going to talk a bit about what are the other channels that are out there which could be leveraged to kind of build your brand, to be able to also connect with your audiences and acquire them as well. I just have one quick slide about us and who we are, just to give a context of where does our experience come from. So we run an agency called Social Beat. We're across 3 cities and 6 years old now. And we have a 130 member team that works with about 100 brands. Yeah, I'm going to speak a bit louder. And we work with 100 brands across the country, and we kind of drive revenue growth and brand growth for many of these brands that we work with. And you'll see some of those examples in the work that we do as well. So let's put India into perspective, right? So what are the number of internet in users that are there? As per the latest stats, actually, it's about 550 million, which is roughly a little over 1/3. And if you put that into the context, there's still almost 1 billion internet users that will get access to internet in the coming sort of next 10 years or so is the prediction that most of them say. And that's really what keeps us excited. So while there are already 550 million internet users, there's still a lot more they're going to get access in the coming years and sort of one decade, so to say. And a lot of this is actually accelerated predominantly because of Geo. And if you look at how that grew, so before Geo, the average amount of data a user used was almost about 1 GB a month. And today it hovers anywhere between 9 to 10 GB a month. And even the rate at which users are being added, so first time internet users, a lot of that is actually accelerated since Geo came into play. And that's obviously changed a lot of things across the board. So if you look at who leads the digital ecosystem in India today, it's undoubtedly Google, predominantly because they have so many different apps that all of us use on a daily basis, right from our Android phones to our Gmail app to Google Maps to get directions to YouTube to search, of course, Hangouts, and there's so many different ways that Google tracks this data that they are definitely the leaders in this ecosystem at this point in time. But if you look at the entire ecosystem, you obviously have the Facebook Instagram and WhatsApp ecosystem, which also has a pretty large audience at this point in time. Uh, and as per the latest stats, Instagram has about 61 million or 6.1 crores. Facebook has 260 million, and WhatsApp has 350 million. WhatsApp doesn't give official data, but these are estimates based on what we've seen and what we hear. Uh, at the same time, you also have YouTube, which has almost 265 million monthly active users. And reality, actually, it may be even more than that, but that's at least based on the Comscore data. That's what they report at this point in time. Uh, and one platform that we often leave out is LinkedIn, which has actually become pretty large in the last couple of years as well. So LinkedIn today has about 55 million users across the country, and that's a platform definitely to kind of reckon with as well. We've also been seeing a lot of recent news about ShareChat and TikTok and many of the others. Many of these numbers are still unsubstantiated, so I don't want to give numbers for it, but I think they are also have definitely a few million users that can be leveraged, and these are platforms to keep in mind as well when you look at the overall social and digital ecosystem that exists out there. So, why am I saying that you shouldn't have too much reliance on the Google and the Facebook ecosystems? Uh, the number one is that uh, any change in the platform can drastically impact you, and we've actually seen this significantly with the Facebook ecosystem in the last year or so, where due to all the changes that the platform has gone through, the predictability of performance on Facebook ecosystem, be it Instagram, be it Instagram stories, be it Facebook, that predictability is not as good as it used to be earlier. Uh, Two is obviously the organic reach in these platforms has dwindled over time, and even LinkedIn is actually moving in that direction. So any change in the platform actually impacts you as a business, and that's something to keep in mind. And that's why we say you should diversify and have as many platforms as you can to kind of have your marketing channels open. The second is sometimes we get satisfied with whatever the existing channels we're doing. So Facebook is working for us, Google is working for us. Why do we need to try something new? And I think, very often, even within Facebook, even within the Google ecosystem, within YouTube or other channels, there's so much innovation that you can do. And digital is a channel where you can constantly look at new ways of making things happen. And the last is, we often don't look at the entire ecosystem. And today I'll be talking a lot about the different channels that exist out there, which do not necessarily have to be users of Facebook or Instagram or even YouTube for that matter. They could be using these platforms irrespective. And these are new channels and newer audiences that we shouldn't be missing out on from that perspective. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly deep dive into some of these channels and talk a bit about the best case practices for some of these channels. I think our number one channel that we would recommend you to try out if you've not already done that from a advertising perspective is LinkedIn. As I shared earlier, LinkedIn has roughly about 55 million users at this point in time. And there are some best case practices that we recommend here. The first is LinkedIn actually recommends you use the filters of years of experience and not age, because LinkedIn actually doesn't know your age very accurately, but it does actually know how many years of experience you've had since you graduated from college, because you do add your job and designation and company name, and it actually gets the number of years of experience from there. So that's something to keep in mind, that age sometimes doesn't really work too well on LinkedIn. So try and avoid using that unless it's absolutely necessary. The second is LinkedIn actually gives you a bidding mechanism, which could either be based on CPM, which is cost per thousand impressions, or cost per click, or even in some cases, auto bidding as well. Uh, and in our experience, the CPM bidding is the one that gives you the most optimum result. Predominantly because it seems that LinkedIn devalues or values the CPM a lot lesser than it values a click from the platform. And we've seen much better results coming through when we've done CPM bidding, even though our intent was to, let's say, generate inquiries, but the intent was to drive clicks to the website or to the blog that we have. The third is LinkedIn has such powerful information in terms of designation, in terms of function, in terms of industry. And that's one of the key reasons why we use LinkedIn as an advertising platform. And that's something to keep in mind and leverage, because that's probably the only platform that gives you this data. No other platform will tell you that these are the people that work in the logistics industry, or these are the people that work in the retail industry. And that kind of granular level of targeting is definitely powerful, and can be definitely used as well. Fourth is we've seen video assets work really well. So that's something to kind of, uh, I can see someone has, said that LinkedIn only works for B2B. That's actually not true at all. It actually works very well for B2C. And in fact, I can probably share a link later on of more details on that as well. But a lot of what I'm sharing today is about B2C. It is about targeting end consumers, because you do have 55 million users. We're not talking just about B2B here. Uh, so coming back to our presentation, so the fourth point, which is the video asset. So uh, videos work really well, and videos were launched maybe about a year ago on the LinkedIn platform, and that's something to definitely try out. And we've seen much better, even organic results and organic reach is much better on LinkedIn with the video assets. The fifth point is LinkedIn also has a pixel that you can add to your sort of website, and that allows you to retarget people who have come to your website or landing page, and that's again something that you should leverage on the platform. And finally, last point is that they've recently launched lookalike audiences and interest audiences, and that's something you should be able to kind of leverage and see how to make use of. It's relatively new, but that's something to try out as well. So I've just taken a screenshot of a sample target audience targeting that you can do here. And this is something we've used for ourselves here at Social Beat, is to target people in 3 different cities, which is Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi, and target people who are really senior in the organization, because we're targeting people who kind of want to be able to take a decision, right? So we're targeting people who are CXOs, who are directors, who are owners, and who have more than 10 years experience and are from the marketing industry or the online media industry. And this is obviously just a sample, but as you can see, it shows you that there is a 18,000 audience size, and it shows you what your estimated click-through rate and engagement could look like. And you could obviously go deeper and drill deeper into this as well. This is obviously done from a B2B angle, but you could do this even from a B2C angle very easily, by targeting people, let's say, who are, if you target senior people, you could target them for banks, for credit cards. You could target people who are, working in different companies and software companies, and target them for real estate. So the different industries that can leverage it to actually do it. The next slide here that we've shown is actually something that LinkedIn gives away free, which is the website demographic. So once you add the pixel of LinkedIn on your website, you can actually see free data of who are these users that are coming to your website, which functions they are from, which industries they are from, which cities they are from. And this could be useful information when you're actually doing advertising of different kinds, right? So uh, and that's something to kind of look at and see, how do you constantly, I can see someone has said lost your voice. Are you able to hear me now, everyone? Can I just get a comment of if everyone can hear me? Okay, great. So this website demographic is a tab that you can see on the top here, which is right next to campaign performance. This can be really, really powerful data that you can use for your future targeting and future insights as well. So that's something to kind of use, and it's actually free. So even if you're not actively advertising on LinkedIn, you can still create the LinkedIn account and actually, uh, get this data for free by adding the pixel. So that's something to definitely try out and see what you can get out of it. So that's with regards to LinkedIn. I mean, I could go on and have a separate session on each of these platforms, but since we only have about 45 minutes or so, I'm going to you know, take the best case practices from each platform, and if you have questions, then I can take them towards the end in terms of what else you would like to know. So the other platform that we've seen often crop up when we do any kind of Google search is Quora, and Quora has in fact become a great place to get answers to all kinds of questions, especially qualitative questions when it comes to finding certain things. And it could be as simple as someone saying, "I'm looking for a travel insurance. Which insurance is the best one?" Or it could be someone saying, "Hey, I'm I want to get a loan. What are the best options for a loan?" So there could be different things that you could be asking for, and you could find Quora right there on top. So there are four top tips that we would recommend for Quora when it comes to advertising on the platform. Uh, Quora loves their ads to look and feel native, to look and feel like they're part of the platform. So they have a very strict guideline when it comes to capitalization and sentence formatting, and they have a huge detailed sort of page on this. So you should do check it out. But that's something we've seen as a common reason for the ads getting disapproved from time to time. So that's something to keep in mind. The second is that uh, while it's okay to start off with topic targeting or interest targeting, we recommend that over time you actually move to narrow targeting, which could be audiences of your own, which is your website remarketing audience, the lookalike audience, like how you have on Facebook as well. And more interestingly, they have question targeting. So you can say, I want to target people who are seeing answers to these kind of questions and these specific questions. And that again can be a very interesting way of narrowing down your audience, because that's as specific as you can get on the Quora platform. The third is we recommend being very aggressive when it comes to culling down topics, right? Because it's okay to have a small number of relevant questions to go after rather than have 200 questions that you're going after. And so, depending on what product or service that you're pushing, be it I could be into corporate catering, I could be selling salon services, I could be having a gym, whatever it is that I'm focusing on, I could be a dentist. Uh, Try and see how you can find questions that are really targeted for you, very specific for you, and that's really how Quora can really work for you. And when it comes to bidding, we've seen that when you bid in the middle of the recommended range is when it works best. And that's when you get the most optimum result out of it as well. So that's something to kind of again keep in mind for the platform. Again, I've taken a sample here. On the left-hand side here, you can see we've done topic targeting. So this is for a real estate client where we were trying to sell apartments in Bangalore, which were upwards of around 88 lakhs. Um, so what we did was we initially did topic targeting, where we looked at specific topics of people looking to, get apartments, or sort of looking at renting a house and buying a house and things like that. And we also then looked at the question targeting at the second stage, which helped us refine our targeting. And you can also see a sample advertisement here on the right hand side, which is upgrade your dream home. And this is how an ad would typically look like. Uh, as you can see, it looks exactly like how Quora listing or a Quora answer would look like, or Quora question would look like. And that's really how they recommend it as well. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Like I said, the capitalization and how the sentence is formed is very important. But at the same time, how do you tell your story? How do you make it interesting is also obviously something to kind of keep in mind for the platform. Uh, I'm going to spend a fair bit of time on the programmatic side, and it's obviously an extension of the display network in some sense, but it's obviously a lot more powerful and a lot more targeted, and I'll explain why. Uh, so the entire ecosystem that exists out there globally is actually very complex. There are lots of different platforms, right from ad serving platforms to analytics tools to platforms that help with buying the inventory. So there's so many different tools and platforms out there, and the Google Marketing Platform tries to bring that together in a single unified experience, and that's what helps as well. So this is something that we use a lot, which is called the Google Marketing Platform, which is Google's programmatic platform. And while the entire integration can be quite complex, as you can see from this slide, we do see that it takes some experienced advertisers to actually use it. But I'm going to quickly talk about what are some of the best case practices and why should you be using programmatic as well. There are typically four reasons why we would use programmatic or the base platform, which is called Display and Video 360. Is one is that it has a lot larger audiences. You can reach a much larger audiences. There's a lot of premium inventory that exists here compared to your regular Google Display Network. Two is the lot more insights that you can get here because the data here is far more powerful. The audience insights that you can get, and I'll show you some slides as well, is far more powerful. Three is the reporting and the media hub that they have is far more powerful as well. So you can actually see how is your media performing across all placements, all websites, and that again becomes very, very powerful as well. And the last piece is that you can actually look at getting a lot more integration with native apps, which again we'll show you a little bit of. Uh, One of the key reasons why a lot of brands move from Google Display Network to Google Marketing Platform or programmatic is that it's a single cookie platform. What I mean by that is that even if I run advertisements across, let's say, YouTube or Hotstar or let's say Times Internet or other platforms, I'm able to actually see a single view of the user, which actually is not possible directly on the Google Ads platform or the Google Display Network at the moment. And you can also cap the frequency at a user level rather than at a platform level. And what that means is you can say that across my entire campaign in the month of May, I want my users to see my ads only 10 times in the month, irrespective of where they see it. They may see it 5 times on YouTube, 3 times on Hotstar, 5 times on Money Control, 2 times on cardeco.com, and it would automatically get capped after that. And that capping and frequency mapping is far more powerful here on the programmatic side than you would expect on the regular Google Display Network that you see. The other powerful piece of programmatic is that it allows you to combine audiences, and especially the third-party audiences and audiences from the other networks that exist. And there are literally thousands of third-party audiences here. And these could be audiences, let's say, of people who shop in jewelry stores in India. It could be a third-party audience of people who fly frequently to Europe. And these are audiences that are plugged into the platform, and that's really how it allows you to kind of use this with your own data as well. And with continued use of programmatic, you can actually identify which third-party lists are really working for you. Are people who are pet lovers working really well for you? Are people who are foodies really work well for you? And these kind of insights over a period of time can help you identify and use the right kind of third-party lists, which is not at all possible on the regular Google Display Network. The other piece that becomes very, very powerful is the ad fraud and the brand safety piece, where you can actually automatically exclude websites that are high risk or websites that are low quality. And these could be websites or apps and applications that are maybe new to publishing, and you can exclude them together in one single shot, which is again something of a manual process when you think of a Google Display Network and how you do it there, right? So the programmatic side is very, very powerful. I've only touched a brief purview here, but programmatic can help you scale your campaigns to an extent which is not possible by any other platform, because almost everyone on the web is actually can be leveraged using the programmatic side, and that's really why we use that for many of our larger clients as well. I can see an interesting question here, which I can take right now, which is what are the things you should do to reduce ad fatigue to the user? So one of the things we would recommend is that you move to programmatic and actually cap your frequency at a user level rather than a platform level. Because the challenge is if you have 7 different campaigns on your Google Display Network and you have a frequency cap for each of them, you're likely to have a lot of overlap of users, and that's really when there's so much of an ad fatigue. The other piece is you need to test it out. You need to experiment it for yourself to see when is your click-through rate and cost per lead or cost per impression increasing by actually doing a bit of a testing on your sort of on your frequency cap. All right. I hope that helps. Moving on. So the other big set of platforms that we would recommend is native platforms and sort of direct publishers that exist out there. And you know the biggest one out there is definitely the Times Internet one. And I think uh, as you can see from this specific sort of picture as well, that Times Internet has so many different platforms today. And with their purchase of MX Player and some of the other ones that you see here, they in fact touch 450 million monthly users today, which is far larger than any single publisher that you would find online. And that's really what makes it very, very powerful as well. Uh, they in fact recently rebranded themselves, as you can see from this quick video, uh, and they are trying to say that almost everyone who's online in India can actually be leveraged to a large extent through their network, and that's probably true today, especially with Ghana and Xplayer and the other platforms that they have. They have they have video, they have audio, they have news, they have entertainment, they have fashion, they have so many different things today that you can reach a lot of users through this platform. So maybe you can quickly watch this video and then we can move on to the next slide. Right, so that was a quick video from Times, and I think they have really reinvented themselves over the last year or so, where they've added a lot more inventory and gone after a lot more users. So that's definitely a platform to kind of keep in mind when you're trying out direct publishers. But we also have a few others, right? So we have platforms like Daily Hunt, which have almost 153 monthly active users at this point in time based on their latest data. And they believe that they reach every nook and corner of the country, which is amazing because there are very few publishers that can actually have this kind of a reach. We also have direct publishers that you can imagine. So imagine every language, right? You have Dainik Bhaskar to Daily Tandi to Rajasthan Patrika to Amar Ujala to obviously platforms even like InShots that condense all this news. But there are so many different publishers in each state that can be leveraged to do a direct deal, and they have a lot of audiences as well. And many of them actually tend to restrict their premium inventory on the Google Display Network. So you may not get their best inventory if you're using it only through the Google Display Network. So we would recommend doing a direct tie-up or using programmatic to actually reach out to many of these larger, language publishers, so to say. And today you also have AdZebra, which combines a lot of these regional players. And they have, AdZebra today has about 75 million users spread across 3,000 different websites. And they have, you know, uh, a lot of traction that we've got in the last few, I would say, months. And here it is important to obviously customize your message to each language. So if you are targeting websites in Hindi, then you need to have your communication in Hindi. If it's in Marathi, then it needs to be in Marathi. If it's in, it's in Kannada, then you need Kannada communication. So the requirement from a brand and creative perspective is also very, very sort of important. Uh, Annie has a question. How do you reach these direct platforms? Unfortunately, there's no easy way. You have to reach out to them directly through their websites, or you can use programmatic to kind of reach out to them. Uh, AdZebra can give you some bit of this reach as well. So using AdZebra, you can actually do native ads across all these multilingual platforms in one single go as well. Uh, and many of these platforms have also evolved over time, right? So even AdZebra, for example, has categories where you can now target people based on specific intent. So if someone who has an intent in fitness and health, you can target them for, let's say, a gym, or you could target them for a health drink, or you could target them for, health insurance. So there are different kinds of targeting that you can use here to really go after those platforms. Dhananjay has again an interesting question. Do they provide self-serve platforms? Most of them today have self-serve, uh, except the direct publishers. So the direct publishers don't have self-serve. But if you look at Times Internet, if you look at Daily Hunt, AdZebra, you look at any of the other native platforms that are here, be it Taboola and Outbrain in Colombia, they all have self-serve. So you can actually sign up directly and put your credit card and sort of start doing that as well. Uh, and there are four native platforms that we would recommend. Colombia would be definitely the number one, which is part of the Times Internet. You have Yahoo Native, and then you have native only platforms, which is Taboola and Outbrain. Uh, and many of them actually have very, very good quality audience because they have a very selective process when it comes to the kind of advertisers and kind of publishers that they have. So they're very, very niche publishers and niche websites, which allows them to keep their audience quality very, very, very high. When it comes to native platforms, I think the creative plays a very, very important, uh, you know, uh, play here because people are going to see that creative and it almost seems native to the platform. So it needs to blend in really well. So that creative and what you communicate is very, very important here. The second is that uh, because these native platforms don't have very, very detailed targeting like how a Facebook would have or YouTube would have, you need to be very, very niche about your targeting as well. Choose the categories of topics that are really closer to your industry, and that's really when it's going to work for you. uh, Constantly keep experimenting and uh, and see how you can. And because it's native, you also need to be transparent because the privacy policy and ensuring that you're mentioning all that in the privacy policy is also very, very important as well over here. Amrita has a question: can e-commerce marketing be done? Absolutely, you could do e-commerce marketing through all these native platforms, and we've seen many e-commerce companies actually leverage uh, to kind of use native to scale their audiences as well. Uh, we also have, a whole bunch of the new what we call over-the-top or video streaming platforms today. Right from Hotstar to Netflix, of course, doesn't have advertising, but Voot and Live and TVF and View and you have Big now. You have so many others that are coming into the play, even MX Player, like we discussed. Uh, and this is going to be really, really big. And amongst all these players, Hotstar is the only one that has a self-serve platform at this point in time. So you can actually directly start advertising on Hotstar using detailed targeting, and they also have custom audiences and website audiences that you can link on Hotstar today. Uh, and Ratnaraj says Xiaomi also has it. Maybe I've not tried it yet, but that could be true as well. But Hotstar definitely is a platform to look out for. They already claim to have close to about 200 plus million internet users on the platform, and most of them are using the free version of Hotstar, which means they will be seeing advertisements, and that's really what we, look at look at using as well. I've not put any detailed slides on these because these are still evolving. But a video asset is obviously very critical to these. While they do have some display inventory as well that you can use on many of these platforms. The other set of platforms that we see often getting missed out is the audio platforms. Uh, and the top two definitely would be GeoSavan and Ghana. But we also now, of course, have Spotify and the others coming into the play. And we are seeing a lot more traction here. And today you can even do programmatic audio, which means I can run my ads through programmatic and run it on Ghana and Savan with the same level of targeting that I have on Google today, which means I can actually have somebody in 1 kilometer radius of my store, somebody who has an interest in food, and show them a food related audio sort of message and actually run it on these platforms. So the combination of programmatic and audio is actually very, very powerful as well. And and then that's something to kind of keep in mind. I'm just going to play a quick sample of an audio ad that we played for one of our real estate clients.
The wait is over. Introducing Piramal Mahalakshmi Central Tower, 3 and 4 bedroom private residences at South Mumbai, with a lifetime view of the Mahalakshmi Racecourse and the Arabian Sea, starting at 7.03 crores. Tap the banner to know more.
And a lot of these audio ads are similar to how a radio spot is. Uh, but the only difference is that there is a screen here where you can click the ads as well. So you can also see there is a companion banner here, which is playing. So while the audio is playing, there's a companion banner that's displayed here. So there is a high chance that somebody is going to also view the communication. And if they're really interested, then click and come through. While many of these audio campaigns tend to be brand campaigns, we have seen some interesting results come out of performance campaigns as well. And that's something to kind of keep trying out as these platforms scale. And many of them today have millions of users, and you can target them by language, which is again very powerful. So if I am someone who's targeting people in let's say I'm targeting Gujarati songs, then obviously it becomes very, very targeted and very useful as well. And with programmatic, you can do a lot more detailed targeting as well. And then you also have industry specific platforms, right? So think about e-commerce. So you can today advertise on the Flipkart and Amazon ecosystem, similar to how you would do it on Google search. You can have keywords, you can have message, you can have a landing page within Amazon. So there's so much that you can do today within these platforms that actually makes a lot of sense. Uh, think about property portals. Today, there are so many different property portals that you can leverage. And obviously, they make sense not just for real estate, they also make sense for the finance industry. It may make sense for mutual funds. It may make sense for insurance. It may make sense for any kind of ancillary industry, may be interior designing. It could be for furniture, because these are basically places where people are looking to buy new homes or rent new homes or sell homes as well. And these are obviously very interesting platforms to also look at. Uh, and then also, and this could be a long list, right? So if you look at the automotive industry, you have platforms like Carvale and Car Deco, and today there are so many of them, Bike Deco and others, that you could leverage for car manufacturers, for car insurance, for car accessories, for Bluetooth devices. So there's so many different products and services that I can amplify using some of these kind of different channels. I've also added YouTube as a new channel because even though it's part of the Google ecosystem, many of us, at least from what we've seen, have not leveraged it for performance advertising or to actually leverage it to kind of get new customers. And today, YouTube reaches almost 85% of all internet users in India. Uh, and while the Comscore data shows only 265 million active users, in reality, the number of people using it is far higher. And that's really why we recommend trying it out. Uh, and one feature that's only available on YouTube and the Gmail sponsored ads is what we call as a custom intent. Uh, where when someone's looking, let's say they search to buy furniture on Google search, and later on they came to YouTube to watch, let's say, a trailer of the latest movie, we can then show them an ad of furniture that they could buy. And that combination of search intent that you can target on YouTube is very, very powerful. And we've seen it work wonders when it comes to performance advertising. And this is a platform that we would definitely recommend many others to also try out and see how it can be leveraged. uh, and YouTube today has so many different formats that you could try out, right from the 6-second bumper to the YouTube masthead, which is a 24-hour takeover of the homepage. You have the regular TrueView ads. There are so many different formats, and again, I could spend a whole 1 hour covering just this. But I think the intent really is to figure out which part of the funnel that you're targeting users for, and see how you can run the ads based on that. So if you are targeting more for performance, then the true view for action is what really makes sense. But if you are trying to build your brand, then obviously true view for reach and bumper uh, probably makes a lot more sense in that format. Uh, the other piece is voice, which is not not yet here. I mean, you can't really leverage voice yet. But since 28% of all queries are already voice, it is something that could be leveraged. I can see Ratanaj here saying podcast. Yeah, you could leverage podcast, but voice is so much bigger than that. The Google Assistant, the Alexa, there's so much voice query happening, but it's still something that we haven't figured out, or the platforms haven't figured out how to leverage. But we will find a way for it to work in the future. And the way we look at it, voice is a new touch, right? When the iPhone was launched 12 years ago, it changed everything. It changed the way we interact with devices, and we do see voice doing that for many new users as well. Uh, Siri is probably not likely to get ads, but the Google Assistant and Alexa are probably likely to have some sort of sponsored communication that comes through. And that's something we're waiting to see how it evolves. And that's something we want to see how we can leverage in the future as well. Because voice is definitely going to change a lot of things, especially when it comes to first time internet users who don't want to type, but straight away just ask for what they need, right? So that's what I had today. I mean, we have about, I think, about 16, 17 minutes to actually uh, get to some questions. uh, I can see there are already quite a few questions out here which I can try and answer. uh,
Thank you, Vikas. That this was a very enlightening session, and truly, digital marketing has to grow beyond Facebook and Google. Sorry. So just to give you a breather, I'm starting the poll wherein I
sure.
can we can understand the interest of people in learning digital marketing, and then we can go ahead and go enter the question and answer session.
Sure, absolutely,
So
yes.
yeah, I'm launching the poll, and I will give a minute to it, and I expect everybody of you to quickly uh, select one option. So if you're interested in a digital marketing course, Digital Vidya is into teaching digital marketing since 9 years, and we are among the first digital marketing training institutes who actually started uh, to train in India back in 2009. So just waiting for more of you to fill in the form.
Yeah.
60% of you have voted, and I expect others to vote, to select their options as well. I give you 5 more seconds to do this. Five, four, three, two, and one. All right. So let me begin with taking up the questions, and I'll read it out for Vikas. And
Oh,
Punika says there was an article a few months back saying a lot about data leakage. are they themselves asking people, and they're themselves asking people not to sign it for it? How good is the platform now?
Yeah, I think data leakage has happened across multiple platforms, be it Yahoo, be it Facebook itself, and be it Quora. And I think, you know, these are things that do happen with large platforms. And this is what teaches them that next time they need to be better at their security. And I think right now there's no challenge with the platform. The usage has actually been increasing dramatically. So we haven't seen any dip in usage and results from the platform from from a marketing perspective. So we would definitely recommend it to all advertisers.
Amrita is saying that could you give us some more examples of podcast marketing?
Yeah. So podcast is still relatively new in India. We've seen that because of Spotify and a few others, we are starting to see some bit of new podcasts being launched as well as marketing through them. But I think it's still very, very new, and many of the marketing that we see through podcasts is actually happening as a native part of the podcast. And what I mean is that the content itself is influenced by the advertiser and the brand, and that's really how many of these podcasts are growing. But it's still very new where we can actually say that it's going to work or not work. And we've in fact launched one for one of our mutual fund clients, and we're just starting to see some traction of it through SoundCloud and through Spotify. But I think it's still very, very early days for it.
Ratnaraj is asking, what do you think about regional languages in advertising? Will they be impactful?
Yeah, regional advertising has actually been very, very impactful in our view, and we have a few case studies as well, which we have done with Facebook and Google on how vernacular and regional communication has helped bring down the cost per lead and also increase the volume of leads. And if you look at how even Facebook or even YouTube, you have to make it language specific. It cannot be just in English. And it obviously depends on the brand, because if my brand is only in one or two cities, then it's still okay. But most national brands need to understand the language of the consumer. And that's really where it starts really making a lot of sense. And, it is something that you cannot ignore. In fact, by 2021, more language users are going to be there than English users. So that means you will have to do a lot more non-English marketing on digital in the next few years than brands have ever done in the past.
Shalki says, how should we approach programmatic when we are new into business?
So programmatic is unfortunately not for new advertisers. It is for an advertiser that is a bit more evolved, someone who's used the Google Display Network, someone who is working directly with publishers but wants to consolidate now. And it also starts making sense only at a certain price point, because there is a platform fees as well. There is a learning curve to understand the platform, and that's only starts making sense when you have scale. And scale here, I would say typically if you have investments of upwards of 25 lakhs a month is when it starts making sense. Anything below that, you will not really find the real value in using programmatic.
So, Sochita is asking, how good is LinkedIn for lead generation?
So LinkedIn is very powerful for lead generation, and we've used that for many industries, be it healthcare, be it finance, be it mutual funds, be it insurance, uh, real estate, of course. We've also used it for B2B, of course. So the lead generation part has become very powerful, and I think it all changed when they did their lead forms. Once the LinkedIn lead forms came is when it started working, because till that point in time, the cost per clicks on LinkedIn are prohibitively expensive. Even today, an average cost per click on LinkedIn is at least 50 to 60 rupees. And that means that your cost per lead is going to be really, really high. So the LinkedIn lead forms do work, and that is something that we would recommend you try out. And now there is interest targeting as well, of how you have interest targeting in Facebook and Google as well. So that interest targeting can help you go after a broader audience than you could before.
Rajesh is asking if digital marketing is good for B2B products, or which
Yes,
platform works the best.
Yeah, I can see there are two questions there. Yeah. So for B2B brands, I think, there are a few platforms that work. LinkedIn is definitely one of them that works. But it also could be platforms like IndiaMart, platforms like Google search obviously works very well for industries where there is search happening. So if there is someone looking for your service or product or manufacturing facility or technology or whatever it is that you're selling, then Google search also makes a lot of sense. So it would typically be a mix of LinkedIn plus Google search plus platform specific to you.
Santosh is saying, what is the best recommended ad platform for a mid-level software company that sells both products and services?
I'm not very clear actually. What do you mean by app platform? So
Ad platform, any
ad platform. Okay, right, sure. So I think the ad platform for, you know, it, see, it depends on which industry again, because, and it could be technology, but what kind of technology? And I think, Facebook and Google definitely are usually the top two choices for most brands to start with. And then you would look at many of the others that I've shown, be it native, be it, a video and audio, depending on who your consumer really is.
Okay, Sanjay has a question. Does it make sense to do voice search SEO and Google Ads for an insurance company?
Yes, absolutely. So, in fact, insurance is one of the segments which makes a lot of sense to do voice search for. And we are, in fact, working with a client on that front as well, where, you know, uh, how do you help people even fill up an insurance claim is something that a voice assistant can help with. And these are areas where the voice assistant is starting to play a huge role. And we are working with the Alexa team and others to kind of see how to build solutions around it. So definitely the voice piece is very, very interesting for the entire BFSI industry, the e-commerce industry and healthcare industry. So insurance for sure is an area where voice can be used. And Google Ads, of course, I think Google Ads is a mainstay for many insurance companies.
So I see a lot of questions coming regarding B2B advertising. Rajesh is saying, what is the best platform that we can choose if we are going to market in countries like US, Canada, and then specifically he's asking about building hardware products.
Yeah. So I'm not sure the building hardware products industry per se, but I think there are platforms that focus on hardware products in the US and Canada. So that would be a good place to start. You could also obviously look at uh, Google search, and LinkedIn as well could be interesting. If you know what kind of companies buy your hardware products, you could even go after them through LinkedIn. YouTube would be a very, very powerful way there because you could use custom intent on YouTube and show your specific products and say, hey, you were looking for a hardware product on Google search. Here's my product. Come and check it out, and that's really how it would work. But I would think Google search would be a mainstay for a product like this because I need to be looking for the hardware product. That's when I'm going to buy it, and that's obviously a very, very high intent driven product, and that's something we would look at leveraging through Google search.
So Shikha is saying she is into the direct selling industry and she is active on social media. So which social platform is the best way, best one for her?
If it's for the Indian market, I think Facebook still has the largest volume of audience. So that would be the number one place to begin. But I think depends on the industry. Even we've also seen Pinterest work really well if it's especially in the beauty, interior or furniture space. So I'm not sure if you are selling direct selling through beauty and personal care products, then even something like Pinterest or Instagram would work really, really well. But Facebook is a great place to start.
Suraj has an interesting question. Is there any other organic marketing platform apart from, generally people use Google in terms of content marketing and social media as well. So is there any other platform wherein people can generate leads or business through, by not paying in essence and just doing some kind of organic activity therein?
Yes. So I think Quora is actually a great platform to get organic results from, and I think it still works. and we still use it for many of our clients. I think that's a platform to kind of explore. We've in fact seen many of the newer platforms of social actually work really well for organic. So, for example, platforms like ShareChat, platforms like Hello, even TikTok to some extent, I think these platforms still have a huge organic reach because the number of advertisers on those platforms is still very less. So you will still see a lot of reach coming through. Uh, and even LinkedIn, I think, has still great organic reach to get results from. So if you can actively post on LinkedIn, write articles, have content being posted on LinkedIn, you can actually get great results from there as well.
Vipul has a question. He's asking if LinkedIn is suitable for industries like consumer goods.
Yes, absolutely. I think we've seen very interesting use cases of how consumer goods could use it and use it smartly. So, just to give you an example, uh, you know, we've been using it for our mutual fund client and even for one of our, personal care brands, which is into e-commerce, where we've looked at women and targeted women with those products and said, hey, we have a workwear collection for you that you could look at. But you have to obviously customize it to the platform. So we had to make the products worthy enough that someone who's working in a company, someone who's part of the corporate work life would find relevance in that product. And that's really where the connect between the platform and the product starts making sense.
Thanks, Vikas. This is I'm launching the final poll, and after that we'll take one more question, and that will be the last question for the day. I'm just launching the
Oh,
poll and uh, close it in a minute. So I request all of you to do participate. And if there is any other question, I'll pick the best one amongst the ones that we get. So I'm giving you 5 more seconds to do this. Uh, and I request all of you to participate in the poll. Five, four, three, two, and one. So the final question we are taking is from Manish, and he says we are looking for more downloads for our app, which is a free career counseling app. How what would the best practice to do so? Basically, to promote it.
yeah, I think this obviously needs to be a very, very content driven approach. So you need to have a strong blog. You probably need to have a strong YouTube channel where you can put out free content. Uh, and look at the other ways to get content out there. It could be because it's career related, you could use LinkedIn, you could use Quora, you could use, there's so many other internship websites today. See if you can partner with them, and those would be the ways to start getting some traffic from Google and other channels to come to you, and then you start getting those downloads. But it's not easy. It is going to be something that requires effort and consistency to really get the result.
Because thank you for your time, and this was really an interesting session, especially the Q&A. I simply loved it. That's it from my side, and I thank you again. Thank all the participants that they invested their valuable time with us, and that's it from my side.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thanks,
Bye.
Vikas. Thank you. Bye.